Hey everyone, Archangel here with Sleeping Samurai. I'm going to bring you a video here today, basically showing you guys how to make a Danish axe is the overall goal. It's going to be kind of a cross between a Danish axe, a bearded axe, and kind of a fantasy orcish axe. What we do here at Sleeping Samurai is we create foam martial arts practice weapons, and recently we've been getting further and further into the more fantasy style weaponry. So today is a little special, trying something little unique for our first video. We'll see how it goes. Actually, today we're coming to you from two different cameras. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to show you now the equipment I'm going to be working with here today, the different foam and the different tools that we're actually utilizing for this build. So I'm going to change the camera here and show you guys that. There we go. Alright, so we've got a couple of different types, a couple of different foam pieces here. One already cut out and shaped how we would like it to be shaped for the blade of this axe. And then we've got the other piece that we're going to go ahead and cut out here in a moment. I'm going to show you guys the actual process using the bandsaw, getting that cut out. So we're going to use a few different grits of sandpaper here today. So we've got the from the thickest, or I should say toughest, roughest, most grit sandpaper here, down to very low grit. It's a 400 grit on the low end, and this is like a 80 grit up here. So very, very tough. To remove a lot of material with this particular sandpaper. Is a mid-grade between the two, and this is the final touches. We may use a heat gun as well, and I'll show you guys that if we do end up needing it. Hopefully we will not. Hopefully the wet sanding will take care of the job for us. So as you guys can see here, like I said, I already have cut out the blade shape, and I have also put in the inside of the blade this drawing here. Now that drawing, I'm going to pop over to the other camera real quick so you guys can hopefully see this a little easier. This is where this structure is going to go inside this foam. So I'm going to, here in a moment, I'm going to use a rotary tool, and I'm going to take out some of this foam in order to allow the structure to actually seed into this foam here as I want it to do. So we're ultimately going to craft this foam to shape around this weapon in a fashion similar as this here. And that's the process we're going to go through here today, so hope you'll join me for it. Okay, so as I mentioned, we actually have already taken and done the first blade out. I've already duplicated that onto another piece of foam as well. These two pieces are actually going to sandwich together, and they're going to make up the actual blade for our I'm going to call it an orcish axe from here on out. Because I don't believe it's anything properly traditional. It's just going to be a fun build, hopefully. So what I've got here is I've got a carbon fiber core, I've got some moldable plastic, and then I've got a rubber coating around it. So as you guys can see, it's just a half-inch carbon, or a half-inch fiberglass, that is, excuse me, half-inch fiberglass core. And then we've got, as I said, the moldable plastic. We've just got a couple of red rubber caps on each end just to protect as a base start for safety. Keep the raw fiberglass out of from impacting the foam directly, basically. So we've got that up here as well. You guys can probably see the lighting is not the best here. Might not be able to see it, but basically inside here is a little bit, you might be able to see a little bit of a red, yeah, you can right there, a little bit of a red haze coming through that white plastic, and that's just the other red rubber piece on the other end here. We've got a half-inch, or a quarter-inch thick, roughly, quarter-inch thick plastic that is going to, again, be the structure. The blade is going to shape around this. The ultimate goal is for us to have a foam blade that is not going to snap off of the core itself. Many years ago when I started this company, I struggled with having a blade so far off of the core. And recently we found this moldable plastic. It's really brilliant, does a great job, and it allows us to build a structure off of the core. It's not overly thick. It's again, it's incredibly durable, strong plastic. So you don't have to go super thick with it in order to achieve a strong strength, overall tensile strength to the plastic. So basically by doing that, we're ensuring that this blade is never going to snap off of the core here. So hopefully that makes sense, and if it doesn't now, it will in a few minutes as we continue to build. So for now, I'm going to pop over to the bandsaw, and I'm going to cut out this other section of the blade that we need to cut out. Hopefully the sound is not too terrible for you guys. Might need to adjust the volume down a little bit, but hopefully we'll take care of that in pre-production or post-production or whatever it is. So. Okay, so now we have our two halves of the blade. As you can see, they fit nicely together, and as we continue to form and work with the foam, we'll continue to sand begin sanding over there, as I mentioned, with the sandpaper. All of this will come together. It'll all be very nice, very smooth, really glued in well with one another. We use a high industrial glue in order to seed these two together, make sure they never have any separation issues. For now, though, we're going to go ahead and do the rotary aspect, I believe. So join me at the other camera. As I mentioned, we've got our pattern already marked out for this side of the blade here, and now what we need to do is we need to actually transfer that pattern to the other blade. So what we're going to do is we're just going to line this up as so. I'm going to hold it together, and let me show you guys what I'm doing here. There we go. Alright. So, this is exactly where I want it to be inside the marker lines. So that's ready to go, and now all I need to do is get this lined up exactly where it'll be for the other foam, and then flip the pattern, flip the structure on over onto the other part. There we go. Yeah, feels good. Looks good. Let's make sure it looks good on the side. Yep. That should be good. So make sure, just going to use my square and just make sure that this core is 3/4 of an inch inside, just as this is 3/4. Let's see. Now that is 3/4 and a little more, so I'm going to move this just a little bit in. There we go. Yep. So really what we're looking at here is Is it 11/16? No, we're about, yeah, we're about 13/16. Doesn't really matter. So, anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and get this marked out here. So, the type of foam we're using is a closed cell foam. We don't really use anymore any open cell foam. When we have to use open cell foam, we try to keep it to a minimum. The open cell foam, while it's very squishy, it's nice in that form, it breaks down way too fast. It creates pockets, in a manner of speaking, whenever you crush some of the open cells, whenever the weapon impacts another weapon or the weapon impacts a body. The open cell foam can crush too quickly, and it leads to a number of problems. So we've found a nice compromise in a 2-pound closed cell foam. Even though closed cell sounds like it's going to be much denser, it's really a pleasure to get hit by this foam, and that might sound weird, but it's the truth. It really doesn't hurt to get hit by these whenever we're in full combat form with them. That's the whole point. Oh yeah, that's lining up nicely. The whole point of what we create is us trying to create full contact weaponry that has a very unique look to them, and it's not going to break down quickly. So durability, be able to have high combat strikes, heavy strikes in combat, and have a very cool look. So I'm peeking down. Not sure if you guys can see this. There we go. Peeking down into the blades, looking good. Looks like we're lined up really well in there. So next, let's go ahead and get this rotoried out. Before I begin actually removing the foam from the inside here, just want to show you guys what all is going to be removed. Most likely it's going to be all of the black line included. If not all, the majority of the black line is going to be removed. This is going to give me a little bit of extra space inside the foam for me to put some liquid rubber. That liquid rubber is going to basically take the impact every time this blade strikes somebody. The liquid rubber is going to take the impact before the foam is actually impacted, and therefore it's going to again just help with longevity. So I'm going to take a little bit out, more than the pattern requires, again, in order to put a little bit of a layer of liquid rubber in there. So here we go. Now I'm going to start. You got to make sure your depth, here we go, you can see it that way. Got to make sure the depth is appropriate for this little bit here. I don't want to take out too much more foam than required. If I take out a little bit extra, then we can fill it in a little bit with liquid rubber, but we don't want to take out a lot of extra. We don't want to have this structure flopping around inside the foam. So what we're going to do is we're going to line this up about halfway on that structure. I want to remove only from each side of the foam here, from each foam, I only want to remove roughly half of the blade width of this here plastic structure. So it's a little bit of finesse getting this the exact depth that you want. But once you got it, you don't have to fiddle with it again. And now, one thing to, so here we go. That's the depth that I'm going to have it in order to do the majority of the dremeling out. To start things off, though, as I had mentioned, I want to have a little bit extra of a layer of liquid rubber inside here. So I'm going to take out, in order to accommodate that liquid rubber, a little bit deeper along the edges only. Not overly deep, just the smallest amount. I don't know if you guys can see the difference. You probably can't, but anyway, it's just a little bit deeper, and it's going to allow me to take around the edges out the appropriate amount. So I'm going to go and do that now. Okay, I went ahead and took out with that same extra little bit deeper depth on the router there. Took out a little extra in order to accommodate for the core, the fiberglass core itself. So let's see if that is enough. I'll probably need to take out a little more, which I will, which I'll adjust later. For now, I'm going to do the same depth on my other foam here. Alright, so now we're going to take back a little bit of space on this bit here so that we're not going too deep in the rest of the blade area. Let's make sure that'll be about half of what we want. Yep. Yep. Let's do it. Okay. Time to vacuum. Somebody doesn't like the vacuum. So now we're pretty much ready to take care of the liquid rubber step. I've got to, again, put liquid rubber in all of the edge areas, grooved out a little bit deeper in order to account for that earlier. Before we do that, I'm going to go freehand on the Dremel, and I'm going to get the rest of this zone, particularly on each side of the foam, dremeled out a little bit more to accommodate, again, that thicker portion of the fiberglass zone. So I've just finished dremeling out and putting in the liquid rubber into our zone that we needed to have it. So now we're going to have whenever we insert this structure, we're going to have liquid rubber on the outside of the plastic striking liquid rubber on the inside of the foam, and that's going to be what is taking the impact against one another. So it's going to help with the longevity and should help overall. So that's all taken care of. I believe we are ready to actually do the gluing, and for that I believe I'm going to step outside and take care of doing that gluing. It's a liquid spray, it's a spray glue that we use. It's very, very strong, but it's very smelly, so I don't want to spray it on inside here. So I will be right back in a few moments after doing that. Hey, we're back! got them all glued up. I'm actually going to use the other camera and show you what it looks like. Alright, so you guys can see the goopiness covering the inside of the foam there. It's probably going to be a bit too much. And this is, I don't know if you can tell, this is all gooped up as well. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and clamp this for the day, let this dry overnight. Part of the process is that each weapon many times need an extended seal, so I'm going to go ahead and make that happen. Alright, and the final bit is going to be a very heavy bucket placed right on top. Yep. Okay, so basically it's sealed up, it's glued together, the structure is safely inside the foam where it needs to be. The foam is going to take probably about 12 hours to set up, so early tomorrow morning I will be able to get back to it. Obviously I'm not going to get back to it at 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning, but come tomorrow, sometime in the morning, I will be able to get back out here and continue this project, and we'll be able to get it shaped down the rest of the way that we need to shape it. We will use the bandsaw to get a 45-degree angle on the blade like we want. We'll then use the sandpaper, the different grades of sandpaper, starting with the heaviest grit to the, like I said, the finest grit, and we'll go ahead and get that shaped down. And from there, really, it's just the final painting, just getting it to look the way we want it to look, and then patting the handle the rest of the way that we need to. So that's gonna be the final steps. It's gonna have to take place tomorrow, though. So not sure how we're gonna do this. We'll find out. You'll find out. You may already know, because we're either halfway through the video, or somewhere abouts, or we're coming to the end. So either way, thank you very much for joining me so far on this journey, and I hope to see you all again soon. Catch you later.